Welcome to Founder Files, the podcast for growth minded leaders, investors, and operators shaping the future of business. Each episode dives into the critical decisions behind scaling, from finance and fundraising to leadership, strategy, and technology. Founder Files is powered by Cypher, the AI powered and human led finance partner helping growing companies scale with clarity and confidence. Learn more at cypherfin.com. Today, I'm joined by Carter Looney, a business owner, M&A advisor, and investor with over 25 years of experience helping founders maximize enterprise value and avoid costly exit mistakes. Carter, thank you so much for being here today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Salma.
Really appreciate that you're going to give us a perspective from a leadership standpoint today. So let's get started. Let's kick things off. I mean, the first question for me, what is the difference between just high level forecasting and budgeting? If you were to be speaking to a CEO about it, just in simple words.
Okay, so budget is, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to get to. Okay? Gives you a framework so that you know where you're going to work within. Forecasting is a much shorter term thing and is actually dealing with reality. So a budget says, all right, this is where I want to get to this year. Work with the team together, get the buy-in. That's where they all want to go. You got them facing in one direction. And then you need to have reporting, and you need to have, out of that reporting, you get information, you do what we call controlling. And part of that is forecasting, saying, okay, the revenue was planned to be 2 million in this month or 200,000 doesn't make a difference. And my costs were supposed to be like this. That's what the budget says. What does it really say? What's really going on? Because at the end of the day, I like to always say, at the end of the day, it's about, are you going to have enough cash? What a lot of people call runway. Are you going to have enough cash to survive, the next month or the next 3 months or the next 6 months? And so it's about timing, in forecasting, and budget is about direction.
How do you rely on these financial tools or financial reports to help a CEO or plan strategically for a company?
Well, I mean, again, they have two different purposes, right? I use, or a CEO should use, the budget. Again, like I said, give them direction, get everybody on the same page. They understand where they're going and they understand what they need to achieve.
Yeah.
But and then use the tool of forecasting to sort of go through small, short iterations. Say, okay, this is, if you guys, any of you guys that do software development, right? It's like Agile, right? You have a plan. Yes, I want to achieve this, but you do a sprint and you say, in this sprint, I want to achieve these 3 things. And then you get to the end of the sprint, you see if you've achieved it or not. And then you go to the next thing, and it helps you be a little more things. So that's what the 2 different things are used for.
Yeah. So let's talk more about this agile planning. How do you think about that when thinking strategically about the future of a company? What are the primary things that you think about when planning, and what do you look for first when making certain decisions? If there's anything that you look for first.
Well, I mean, planning, budgeting, it's obvious, obviously, what revenues do I think I can reasonably achieve? And it's fine to have a bit of a stretch target. That's all okay, but it's got to be a reasonable stretch target, right?
Okay.
Because it doesn't help to set yourself up for defeat. Doesn't mean that you're probably never going to hit the budget, right? You may overshoot it, you may undershoot it, probably never going to hit it. So it's not so bad it's not that you got to be exact on it. It's that you got to be close enough, or otherwise your management isn't good, right?
Yeah.
Or there's something that's happened in the environment that wasn't that.
Have you seen scenarios where things were overestimated and then resulted in big mistakes from a founder or for a company?
Well, I've worked with a lot of software companies over the years, and especially larger software companies, or especially public companies. All right, public companies are different. They're not so much different than investor-driven companies, but they are, because there's expectations of the market, and you sometimes get CEOs that get caught in the trap of trying to meet the expectations of the market. So I won't say they overstate their numbers, but they put a lot more quarterly pressure on their people than maybe it's necessary or maybe what's good for the long term of the company. Yeah, I mean,
Uh-huh.
I don't want to get. I probably got off the subject a little bit there, but the point is that you want to keep the budget in a range that's reasonable that you can achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Carter, tell me, how do we use forecasting to implement the most strategic decisions? Or how does it help with planning for the company and implementing
Oh,
strategies, I guess, saying it in
right.
a
Well,
different way?
okay. So again, forecasting is a tactical tool, right? But let's I'll put this into so you have a strategy. You say you want to grow by 25%, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's your business plan. That's your budget, as you would call it, right? So forecasting is talking about what's actually happening. One thing that a problem that happens, yeah, often is people want to use forecast to be more aspirational, right? So like what actually budget is. They just look at it as a shorter version of the budget. Well, that's not how it should be at all. Yeah. Budget's a goal. Forecast is much closer to fact, right? It's based on fact and it's real tight probabilities when things would happen. I mean, you can't exactly say on which day, or almost never can you say exactly on which day a cash flow, for example, something's going to be paid, but you have a pretty good decision or a pretty good experience about when it's going to be paid. You can see with your KPIs, and this is where it comes down to the thing. You say, I'm going to grow 25%, means I'm going to have to hire 10 people this year, and I'm going to have to hire 3 people this quarter. So then
Mm-hmm.
you put your pipeline together, and that's based on your pipeline and other stuff like that. It's your long-term planning. Okay. And then you look and say, okay, what's actually coming in? What deals did I actually get done this last quarter? Yeah. Um, what are what are the payment, not just the payment terms that I get from things, but that I get from customers, but how are customers actually paying me?
Yeah.
Right? It could be that, especially when you work with larger companies, you may have 30-day payment terms, but they may not pay you for 45, 60, or 90 days. Okay. Okay. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on who you work with. And it's, believe it or not, it's the very large companies that tend to string you out much more than the smaller companies do.
Yeah.
Is what it is, right? Some people could say it's a system, right? You know, sort of like the idea of a insurance company making the just saying no the first time when somebody puts in a claim, and
Mhm.
through that they have a higher percentage of claims they don't have to pay, even if it's only 1% higher. That's more money for them, right?
Yeah.
It's like that. So you need to get an understanding and get a feel, yeah, for how you're getting paid, when your cash is flowing. Yeah. And when your
Yeah.
cash is flowing in and when it's flowing out, because there's things you have to pay. And there's things that you can stretch a little bit. Right. And you put that together, and that's what you use the forecast for.
Yeah.
So, it's like, it's saying, okay, this is what's going to happen in the next month, 2 months, 3 months, maybe longer, but that's usually the farther you go past 30 days, the more undefined it is, right? The more
Yeah.
sure it is. The variance just expands
Yeah.
considerably, in fact.
I think to your point, it could also show you what type of process deficiencies you may have in how you collect from customers. If you feel like you're collecting too late or your net terms are not being respected, then that's something that you may be able to see when forecasting your cash, for instance. So let's talk maybe about the most expensive mistakes that you see founders make when they look at planning, forecasting, or budgeting for that matter.
Okay, I mean, we could go through different things. I mean, the biggest thing I see, I see a couple of things. I see that they hire according to plan and not according to what is actually happening. So that's what I was sort of getting at in the earlier thing. Well, you say you have to hire 3 people this quarter, but you see that you and 2 of them are, say, technicians that got to deliver.
Yeah.
Well, but you see, you don't have the growth that you're talking about, so there's no reason to hire them, because if you don't have the growth, you're not going to have the revenue and you're not going to have the cash flow to pay these people, right?
Mhm.
So that's where you use it, and so sticking too much on the plan and going away and ignoring what you got to do to modify things is the biggest thing. I mean,
Yeah.
another big thing is treating pipeline as revenue. Yeah. Okay. I
Oh,
mean,
mhm.
there's too many people that say, well, my sales, especially talk to a sales manager, right? Well, I have this is a huge pipeline that I have, and and these are 80%, these are 60%, these are 30% chance of happening. And if you calculate that up, it generally works like that. And then you'll see that's the revenue we're going to get. Well,
Yeah.
that'll give you an idea, but it's not something you can count on. And
Mhm.
and if they don't really watch that, then you'll have problems. And the third and the biggest thing that I see happening that's a mistake, that's a real big deal, is that they don't think about timing of cash flows.